Hey, how's it going? I'm Fabian, and today you're going to be watching me paint at around 25 times speed the portrait of Carl Jung. He's a famous psychologist, student of Freud. I read a book by him. I found it pretty interesting and profound, so I was like, you know what? I'll just do a photo study. It's this picture is based off of a photo that you should be able to find online quite easily. I mentioned the 25 times speed thing because I know when I watch videos online of people painting and stuff, I get kind of self-conscious about my own speed. And so I thought you guys should all know this is 25 times speed. That's pretty fucking insane. And even at that speed, it takes. This video is going to be like 14 minutes. I think in total it was around 6 hours. 7 hours. There you go. So it was around 7 hours it took to paint this. I want to speed up my process a little bit, clearly. I think there's a lot of wasted time in this one, where I kind of backtrack over the same place over and over and over again. So that's something I'm definitely going to try to improve on in future videos. As you can see right now, I'm kind of blocking things in. That's one of the things I think will help my speed. Because it kind of prevents you from getting too lost in the details when you're working in such big shapes. And then theoretically, you're supposed to break down the shapes gradually one by one. And although I did start out with some big shapes in this one, I think I did get kind of lost in the sauce, you might say, in several places. Where it's like, oh, this wrinkle is not exactly right. I have to go back and forth, like nudging it this way and that way. And it's like, no, just put down a stroke and be confident about it. That's where I'd like to be. So that's enough about the painting for now. What I wanted to talk to you about is, where I want to go with this YouTube channel. This is kind of one of the first videos that I'm going to be posting, and so I'll tell you a little about who I am. I'm Fabian Banu. I've loved to draw for pretty much my whole life. I've been doodling since I was a kid. Probably most people who are interested in art have been doodling. Halfway through middle school, I began to get serious about art. I started browsing, concept art, and I kind of, my eyes were open to how good a person can possibly get, and that limit is incredibly high, I started kind of like starting to do more serious photo studies and trying to improve myself, learn fundamentals around that time. I got into the School of Visual Arts in New York City, so I'm studying there now. I'm majoring in cartooning, although the way I've chosen my classes, the curriculum is kind of a 50-50 split between cartooning, which is graphic novels and stuff like that, and illustration, because I like both of those, and I could definitely see myself doing a mixture of both in the future. I like to tell stories. I have a lot of ideas for stories, so that's why I chose cartooning. And I also just like making cool pictures, which is why I'm taking illustration classes. But one problem I noticed is that when you're in art school, it can breed a kind of complacency. I'm doing the assignments, I'm getting a good grade in all my classes, so I'm good. I can chill out. There's nothing to worry about. I don't think that's a great mindset, especially for art. Where your degree is meaningless. If you're doing computer science or engineering or physics or what other, medical field, if you're getting an A, you're getting the degree, and you're going to get hired when you get out, based on that degree. For art, it's not like that. It's just the quality of your work. At the end of the day, how good are you? And so outside of class, I haven't really been doing too much studying, too much practice. And I really want to up that number. And so one of the ways I think it would be fun to do is to kind of like do some, some studies, do some paintings for fun, do some maybe more tutorial kind of things, and then upload it to YouTube. Because that's a way to kind of like create a bit of leverage on myself. Like, yeah, I need to get this video out, and it's something you can kind of look at. It's a product. It motivates me. So that's kind of my goal with this channel. I'm a student. I'm not a professional. I'm also kind of, on my path of learning. I wouldn't say I'm like a totally green, I'm not a complete beginner. I have a basic grasp of most things, but as you can see with this painting, it's like I'm not, a master by any means, and I haven't gotten any real like professional gigs, So, what you'll find on this channel is me kind of figuring things out myself, kind of crafting my portfolio with some fantasy or conceptual pieces. You'll have studies that I do. One study I want to do probably in the near future will be about like brushwork and being very economical with brushwork. Kind of as I brought up before in regards to this current painting, is that I'm not economical with my brush strokes. I kind of I dilly-dally all around, and I like meander, and I'm kind of sporadic with it, and I go back over places I've already touched on, and I just re-edit them constantly. And not only does it take a long time, it's kind of infuriating, to be honest. It's very frustrating. So I'm thinking about doing things where I would like thumbnail with just some basic broad brushes, or maybe even do some more detailed pieces where like I just put down paint strokes and no erasing, no undoing, and once I address a certain area at a certain level of resolution, I'm not going to readdress it until I go to a higher resolution. So that's one of my ideas. Yeah, I might do tutorial type things if people ask for it, or if I have a good idea for one. Studies like this one I'll upload. Just so you can kind of see like what I'm doing. It's like if you're here watching art videos, I feel like we're kind of in the same boat. We have an interest in the field. We're trying to get into it. Maybe you just like it because you like to have something on in the background. And if that's the case, that's fine too. I totally get it, and I like that too. But I'm just putting it out there. As for what I'm going to talk about during the videos, it's going to be a variety of topics. This first video is kind of like, I want to make more about like the channel in general. So it's kind of meandering around my different goals that I've set. But in general, I'll talk about, a variety of topics. As I said, some might be more tutorial based. But there are some like deeper philosophical concepts about art, like why somebody wants to do art, what art means, touching upon modern art maybe. I'd like to talk about pop culture sometimes. If I've seen a movie recently, I might talk about that during the video. And then also self-help concepts, because to be honest, as artists, it's kind of a quite solitary road, and so really you'll find yourself oftentimes alone. And what I've discovered is that being alone is something you have to really become accustomed to, in a sense. And so I think sometimes I'll talk about that. Not necessarily being alone. That sounds like that sounds sad, but I mean just being the source of your own, being able to solve your own problems, being able to figure out why you aren't reaching the goals that you want to reach, figuring out what you think is wrong with your current approach. I think those are very important for an artist because we kind of have to figure things out on our own. Like I said, we can't just rely on a school structure to just, guide us through the whole thing and we'll be out at the end ready for hire. We have to take a lot of the responsibility onto our own shoulders. So that's why I think self-help is important, and I might talk about concepts that I've learned myself on the video, with the painting in the background. So yeah. Some of the videos will be more focused on the painting, some will be more focused on what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about the future of this channel. I plan on uploading every Wednesday, and I plan on sticking to that through hell and high water. I would like to, in the future, stream on Twitch a little bit, potentially daily. It really depends on, how high of a standard I can hold myself to and if I'll be able to make that sort of commitment, but I am thinking about it. One thing that I would like to include in my videos is kind of a critique section, or a critique time, because as I said, I'm still learning and growing, and so I think it's important to look at my work in a critical eye. So, with that said, critique time! Alright, so the painting's not done yet, but it's pretty much done. And that leads into my first critique. It's not a critique of the finished product, it's a critique of the technique. It is... If you rewind this video, you can see me probably working on his jacket. I think around 3 times I did it. And it's a very simple assortment of shapes. There's not a lot of value range on it. They're pretty solid. It's not a complex form. It's not complex cloth. It's just a couple of, plane changes. And I went back on it like 3 times. For what reason? Pretty much no reason. Same thing with the glasses. Like, the glasses are a pretty good example of how the workflow kind of needs to be improved. One thing I'm bad at is making multiple layers and using them strategically. So oftentimes I'll just like keep piling on layers when I just like want to put stuff on top without much thought. And it works, but it doesn't really help you out. Like, for example, if I had put the glasses from the get-go on a different layer, that would have made it way easier to paint the skin underneath and then paint the glasses later, because then I'd be able to erase mistakes I would make on the glasses. And I really think a more streamlined approach, maybe a more focused approach, would help with this painting. Yeah, overall, I think this painting took way too long for the end result. Because I feel like I said, if you rewind the video, 5 minutes, or in my time, it would probably be like 2.5 hours. The painting isn't in such a different place as it is like 2.5 hours later. I don't think it's in a place that warrants that much work. And that is to say, I don't think you need to worry about being fast. I think you just need to think about your technique. Like, I guess the problem isn't so much the speed. It's that I know, because I worked on this, so I know how it feels. I know how it felt to work on it. And it did feel like I was going in circles and I was being inefficient. So, that's something you should think about too. I think technique is very important. Overall, the values, they're okay. I think they could have been better, and they could have matched the source image a little more. I think the proportions are a little off as well. It's decent. It's a photo study, So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. If you're still listening, wow, well, good for you, man. I appreciate you took the time to watch this video, and like, comment, and subscribe, I guess. And I'll see you on the next one. If you'd like to see anything from me, let me know. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. That's where I post most of my art. And yeah, good luck with, your art journey as well. I'll see you next week.